probably know, a few weeks ago we took a short trip to Cape Breton and did some driving around down there. One of the things that's evident was the number of churches that were abandoned and in disrepair. Now, there may be many reasons for this. Sometimes buildings just get old and they can no longer be maintained and people move somewhere else. Sometimes even churches outgrow their old buildings and have to build new ones of a bigger variety. But in many cases, it just means that the church has deteriorated. People have left, and it's no longer functioning. This is a rapid change, or a big change from the church in the book of Acts, where it was exploding in numbers. It is estimated that after a few months, that there probably were between 25 and 30,000 people in the church in Jerusalem. So you have to look at the book and tell us, and let it tell us why some of these things may be happening. And from the book of Acts, from the first few chapters in the book of Acts, it appears there are probably 5 reasons why churches just don't do well. The first is the message. The early church primarily did 3 things. They prayed, they waited, and they primarily preached about Christ risen and his ascension. This was the message that got the disciples and the apostles really excited, really enthusiastic, was his risen nature and his ascension to heaven. This was the message that they kept preaching over and over again. And this is what drew people to them. It wasn't necessarily Christ's death that caused it, because when Christ was crucified, the apostles and disciples ran away and hid. But it was the ascension and the resurrection that made them excited and got them enthusiastic and really made the message hit home that this is what it was all about. In 1 Corinthians 1, it says, verse 22, it says, "For the Jews require a sign, and the Gentiles, or the Greeks, seek after wisdom. But we preach Christ crucified, unto the Jews a stumbling block, and unto the Greeks foolishness." And that's what happens right today. It seems to be for the church, for the general population, to preach Christ risen is foolishness. They don't understand exactly what is meant by it. And perhaps it's because we don't emphasize it enough. But that's what made the early church grow and expand and really develop. But in view of this, there were 4 other things. If you look in the book of Acts, especially chapter 2, they were able to stand up to the persecution that developed from outside the church, because they were preaching something that the people did not believe in or want to believe in, especially the officials. They were persecuted. And if you look around, the same thing happens today, although it's not quite as overt. If you preach the basic Bible, there's going to be opposition. But only by knowing the Bible can we stand up to it. Can we stand up to the opposition that's out there? And that's part of the problem, is the church today does not really follow the Bible or understand it the way it should. And the third thing is a different type of persecution. It's not the persecution of preaching something which people don't like. It's preaching against something which people already believe in. We believe in so much political correctness, so much inclusiveness, that sometimes it really ends up meaning nothing to most people. If there is a truth out there, then we should be able to support it and maintain it and stand by it. But only if we are assured in it will we do that. But there are two other things. One is internal, and that's the hypocrisy in the church. In chapter 4 of Acts, it talks about Ananias and Sapphira who sold land and gave some of the money to the church after they had promised to give all of it to the church. We make promises all the time as an oath, but most times we don't keep it anymore. And the Bible in itself says this is a dangerous thing to do, because it says many people are sick and some sleep because of this. It says in James, "Do not swear by heaven or by earth or by any other thing, but let your yes be yes and your no be no, lest you fall into condemnation." Do not swear oaths that you will not keep, because there is a penalty, according to the Bible, for doing that. Ananias and Sapphira both swore an oath that they would give all the money of the land they sold to the church or to the apostles, but they only gave part of it. And in those days when the church was just beginning and was pure, they both died as a result of breaking that oath. We break oaths all the time. How much does it affect ourselves and the church as a whole by doing so? And the fourth thing, or the fifth thing, is the divisiveness within the church. There was a time in the first few chapters of Acts when all the people acted as one accord. They acted in unison. They acted as if they were one. That doesn't happen anymore. We're often so concerned about buildings, about the music, about the length of time of services, about various little things which in the course of events really mean very little. But we're so concerned about getting what we want, we forget to do what God requires. Yes. And as a result of that, there's divisiveness in the church. And as a result of that, churches disappear. They break apart. People go their separate ways. Or they no longer come to church because they feel that this is not for me. They don't come for God. 5 reasons why churches sometimes disappear. 5 reasons we could all do a difference, make a difference, if we acted a little differently and did what was required and necessary for God and stopped worrying about ourselves. Yes. Just something to think about.
Good.